Fixers, hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to rewire your brain for communication? Actually, communication has a lot of cognitive functions that are involved that help you communicate and be a good communicator, and help you improve your marriage through that communication. Now, what are cognitive functions? Cognitive functions are the things that help us think efficiently and effectively, help us be productive, help us get anything we want to get done in life actually gets done through cognitive functions. There are 28 of them, and when one of them are weak, it affects every other area of your life. So although there are a lot that could affect your communication, the one that we're going to talk about today is labeling. And as a kid, I saw this a lot of times, even before I started getting Borisine and getting these sessions and rewiring my brain, that a lot of arguments happen because of this. Do you ever get into a conversation with someone, like having this whole discussion, and like about 20 minutes in or something, you're like all heated already. You realize you're talking about two different things. You're both using the same word, but you're translating it in your brain differently. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm talking about? Those things are not labeling accurately. Okay. Now, labels are really important. How do you know that something is a tissue? How do you know that something is a pen? How do you know that something is a phone? Because as society, we labeled it those things. And now when I say, can you pass me tissue? You know exactly what I'm talking about. All right. Although there'll be other people that will pass you a napkin or will pass you other things, because for them, labeling is differently. Now, when we put labels, it makes it much, much easier for us to communicate with each other. So let's say there's something in your house that's new, or you're having this certain experience, or you want to talk about something specific. It's very hard to communicate it when you don't have a name for it, right? You don't have that tissue. You don't have that label to say, go and pass that. So that's why so many things we don't even realize don't get spoken about, or aren't communicated about, aren't processed, aren't thought about, aren't done because we don't have a label for them in our brain. They're just a mush. They can't, we don't want to label people, right? But by labeling things, labeling concepts, we could communicate about it. So in the previous episode, Elsa and Tani gave us the 6 pillars of marriage. And they even said themselves, now I give them the language they need to be able to go and communicate about it. They took these 6 pillars of intimacy, these 6 things that every person needs to work on, needs to make sure they have strong in their marriage. But sometimes we didn't have the language for it. We know we want to have fun together with our partner, but we don't especially know how to do that, how to even talk about it, how to go and let's go on a date. But how are you going to make sure that it's a constant, strong thing in your house? How are you going to make sure you're having those emotional conversations with each other? You could try to have those conversations, but when you have a label for it, when you and your spouse knows, here are 6 pillars, they are labeled, and we can now go and talk about them. So what are these 6 pillars? Quick recap. There's emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, financial intimacy, spiritual intimacy, recreational intimacy, and sexual intimacy, obviously, right? So now that you have the language to talk about these 6 really important pillars in your life, you can now talk about it. So I want you to think about, is there something else in your life that you don't have a label for, or that you're trying to communicate to your partner about, but you're having a really hard time about? Discuss about it. Make some sort of label. Now, there's no right or wrong here. That's the fun thing about label. You can make them fun. You can make them serious. You can make them neutral. As long as everybody knows what you're talking about, it's a label. Just like a tissue is a tissue just because it's a label. Okay? Now, go find something in your life that you can label to make your life easier. Start rewiring your brain for communication. And if you like this episode, don't forget to share it with someone else who could use some labeling in their lives. Bye now. Have a great one, and I'll see you on the next episode.
That's all for this episode of the Life Fix University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.